what are the ingredients necessary to actually understand what your most severe vulnerabilities are?
When you're looking at severity, there's a lot of things that feed into that. Even if you're just looking at kind of the traditional common vulnerability scoring system, there's a bunch of sub-metrics that feed into that. But if you're only focused on that, you can burn yourself, right? When focusing on severity alone, you end up in a bad situation, right? So extreme vulnerability is going to be not only severity, but it's also going to involve some sort of likelihood of exploitation. And what is ultimately, what asset does this affect? These all kind of play into that.
Since I'm currently the leader of the ransomware task force, I think the real world impacts there are very obvious, right? We've seen many organizations taken down for, in some cases, months at a time. And at the end of the day, most of these attacks are the result of unremediated vulnerabilities. So a vulnerability is exploited. It's some combination of that and some combination of compromised credential typically lead to these events. You need to focus on a couple of things. Number one, what are your highest value assets? And obviously you start at the edge, right? Start external and work your way towards the core. That's the way you remediate. And so risk context is incredibly important, even though it may be a critical vulnerability. Is it being actively exploited in the wild, right? If it's not yet, if there's not an exploit kit available for it, you don't want to ignore it forever, but that shouldn't be your highest priority to remediate.
So we, selfishly speaking, at Kenna, one of the things that we look at in terms of remediation stats are something we call coverage and efficiency. And efficiency is something that you can really kind of take advantage of with the resources you have. And what we mean by efficiency is, let's say I've got 100 high-risk vulnerabilities. If I fix 100 vulnerabilities, how many of those were actually high risks, right? So making sure that when I go out there and do something, that I'm bringing risk down and I'm focusing relentlessly on that. Now, coverage is the opposite, which is to say, if I have 100 high risk vulnerabilities, how many did I actually fix, right? And that's where sometimes you've got to go out and get resources to get better at coverage. And that could be people, or that could be tools, or it could be both.
Going back to Craig Hurter's question, outside of painting the C-suite dashboard red, everything's a vulnerability. How do you get resources to address the security debt that you're carrying?
It's really support from the top to understand that this needs to be a priority, because a lot of organizations historically, this hasn't been a priority, and it absolutely needs to be. I think ransomware has sort of elevated visibility into that as well, how important this is, the recent ransomware attack. So prioritization is key. Support from above is always key.
And I would just add, when we're talking specifically about the backlog of vulnerabilities, keep in mind that it's probably not necessary to fix every single vulnerability in that backlog. In fact, there's probably better ways you could reduce your risk in the company as you get to a certain level where it's just diminishing returns.
Hello, welcome to the Department of Yes, where no request is ever rejected.
Sprinkle Doritos Extreme Nacho Dust on all vulnerabilities. If they're all extreme, not a problem.
I very much think that this is a good idea, because it replicates in many ways the common vulnerability scoring system, which is to say all vulnerabilities are bad and everything is extreme, and we should probably just fix everything, or if it is everything, then fix nothing.
Rent a whack-a-mole game from Dave & Buster's. Assign risks to each mole. Give a hammer to the CEO. Whatever they hit, you get budget for that. Why do you want to do this?
Well, that's perfect, because at the end of the day, it's all about budgeting so that you could remediate vulnerabilities regardless of risk context. So I think it's great.
I would argue you might actually get more budget than you're getting right now, depending on the agility of your CEO.
The second part of the question is easier to answer, right? It's helping them understand the potential business impact. So really, what is the threat? What's the impact to them? Always starts there. And then in terms of garnering support, it really is all about not taking the shotgun approach and pretending that you can resolve all of these issues, because realistically you can't. And so demonstrate that you're being responsible and you are prioritizing based on risk reduction opportunities versus trying to ask for enough funding in money and people to solve all of the problems. You can't do that. You really just need to solve the things that are actual threats.
At the operations level, the people that are often tagged with actually remediating and patching and doing all of this stuff, I want Doug is right on here. You can actually show them, hey, I can show you a way to actually do less and reduce risk more than what you're doing actually today. The only thing I would say about making it personal, I don't think it's about making it personal, but when you take it up to, say, the board level, it's more about storytelling than it is about the actual quantitative risk of each vulnerability and getting into the weeds, right? One of the things that's important is asset management. We've already talked about how difficult orgs even do that, right? So how do I align an asset to a business process, even know one, that asset exists, or actually this asset belongs to 10 different business processes, and how do I quantify all of that? There are ways to do it. It's just I haven't seen any simple ways to do it yet.
The enlightenment was, again, you reach a point where there are so many vulnerabilities in your backlog that you realistically can't remediate all of them, and then you realize, all right, what's important? And so going forward, best advice I could offer is make sure that you are prioritizing based on risk.